Good morning everybody, welcome to Sunday. Cold, wet, miserable sort of a day out there, but hey, we're inside. We're all tucked up in the workshop. I noticed with those 20 odd people watching, if you all jumped online and said g'day, that would make our
logarithms.
Algorithms
or something.
Algorithms.
Not logarithms.
Logarithms. Our algorithms look a little bit better. So if you're there,
Come
just
say.
type in g'day, how you going?
Yep, all good.
It all will help. Now, today, this is the time of the project where there's nothing substantial to do. There's lots of little things that have to be done around the project, around the boxes, like tidying up, getting rid of pencil marks, sanding, putting finish on, adding bits and pieces. So that's what today's all about. It's going to be finishing up all of those little things, and we'll be all over the shop really as we're going. So we may not last the whole hour, we may go over the hour, so we don't know at this stage. But anyway, we'll see how we go. So where we got up to last week was fitting the hinges to some of these cute little boxes that we've got. And we fitted the hinges and I've got them all set up and in place. This one I've left till last. It was the last one we did with the lace she-oak in it, and sorted out the hinges. As you can see, I've still only got one screw in each of the hinges just to hold it in place, and they'll get added as towards the end of the finishing of the project, the finishing of the box. Also, the other thing that I've done with these boxes is I've put the internal component, I've just put a panel in the bottom of them, and just to show you that that's what's going to happen anyway. All the boxes that we did were all pretty much the same. So with this box, what I need to do here, I've got the lid fitting nicely. The two top edges actually protrude a little bit above the lid. Now that could be from various different things, but that's fine. It's better to have a little bit exposed than none. I could do different things with that. I could round them over on the inside, I could round it over on the outside and just leave it as is and let it sit proud. Or I could plane it flat, which is probably what I'm going to do anyway, and I'm going to round it over just to take the sharpness off the box. We're then going to add a little lifter that fits on about here. But I have to show you how to make the lifter, so that'll be something extra that I haven't done before. Generally what I've done is I've pulled one out of a box somewhere and cut it to length and fitted it. But today I'm going to show you how I make them with the difference. There'll be a little bit of differences to each of the lifters. Now, when I'm talking about the lifters, this is what I'm talking about. On this box here, I have a lifter that's like a little pillow. It's rounded over on all its edges, it's around the front, and it just fits on like so. They're only glued in place. You don't need to do anything. The glues nowadays are pretty good. So that's basically all I've done with it. I've also rounded the edges, but this box here, as you can see, I've put a nice finish on it and it's all been waxed up and polished. So we're going to be doing that today as well. So putting finish on it and polishing. So that's that box.
I just want to get a
contrasting box. You'll notice that there's all of the butterflies stand out, the colours, the silver ash and the walnut. You know, everything contrasts, everything looks fitted together quite nicely, and something where things are a little bit less conspicuous.
Harmonious, I suppose.
A bit more harmonious. These ones here, where we've got the silver ash, silky oak butterflies that fit in, and they sort of blend in a little bit more. It blends in a bit more with the Honduran mahogany and so forth. And again, the lifter is a little bit different. It's not a pillow one like the other one. It's just flat on the top but rounded over on the front. And I'll show you how to make those. Now, sometimes it's a good idea to make a whole lot of those, but again, same thing. The box has been finished, but I haven't waxed it. So I've waxed the top of it, but I haven't waxed the sides, and I'll be doing that today. And then you can you contrast that with this one here. Again, a bit of difference. I've put a finish on all of the parts of the box, including the inside, and waxed all the inside of it, so you can see that's all finished. I haven't done the outside, and I just want to show you what it looks like as we're putting a finish on it. So I've got to put a finish on that, and I've got to wax the whole outside of the box and so forth. But again, a different lifter. The lifter is a lot higher. It's a bit more chunky. So you can see that variation in the different lifters. Yeah, can add a little bit to your boxes, a little bit of variety. It's up to you how you want to play it, but the basic principle on making it is exactly the same right through the whole thing. So it's just a matter of how you go about it.
Beautiful,
okay,
beautiful box, that one.
We'll get that sorted. And when you have a plain one, where this is the first of the version, this was box 1, and the plain version, there's nothing really flashy about it. It's just two different coloured timbers put together with a different style of finish on the top. I won't be doing that on the bigger boxes. I generally keep that for the smaller boxes, that little beak lifter that we put on the front of those boxes. So as you can see, it still has quite a lot of beauty about it, even though it's done like that. So my first step is, let's get back to this one here. What I need to do is I need to make sure that they're flush with the top of that. Now, how I go about that is I'm just going to plane the top off it. So I haven't got a stop on my bench, but I can make one just with a couple of clamps in it. Okay, so now I've got something to push against, and take my little plane. Just plane off. Coming down nicely. Going a little bit against the grain there. Okay, so now I'm down almost to the height of the lid. Turn that around. It pays to have a nice set on your plane. Okay, this is a little low angle plane, but you can use it any sort of plane you like. A little bit of okay, so from there, normally I would get my sander out now and just sand the whole lot, but it's way too noisy for the workshop. So doing it by hand is just as efficient. So if I just sand surface. I don't need to take a whole lot off because I'm going to round it over anyway.
What brand was that little plane you were using?
It's a little Veritas block plane, low angle plane.
Beautiful.
Somebody asking?
Yeah, Jake was asking.
Yeah, just a Veritas. I'm not sure if you can buy them at CARROLL'S. You could ring him and ask him. Okay, so now I've got them flat level with the top of that. What I need to do now is just round over my two surfaces. And I'm going to do it with the lid on. I could take the lid off and do it with the lid off, but I'm going to do it with the lid on. A little easier to do. I might just take out my insert and around a bit. So my rounding over out a bit. So 406 that we sell. 506 I should say. 406. Now just going to use a piece of timber to make sure that I'm flush with the top of the bench where the round over is. What I don't want is a little step. I want it to roll straight off the edge. I'll just get myself a pair of earmuffs. As you can see, I wasn't very well prepared for today. It's just...
We did say you would be doing things on the fly.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just a matter of... I just thought I'd better point out something that happened. See how that's really nice now. It's nice and neat, and it rolls straight off the box. When you're using no fences or you're not using any sort of guide system, with this particular type of roundover system, the method I use is I'll go into the router bit and touch up against a bearing, slide along to the end, and then I'll come back off again. So it's a little U-shape action that we do. That's exaggerated, of course. And the reason being is if you start and then you just roll onto it and then roll off it, what happens is you end up rounding over the corner. And we don't want the corner rounded over. We want to keep a nice clean shoulder like I've got there.
Let's have a look at that.
So as you can see, nice clean shoulder. We don't want it rounded over this way. Okay, so when we push it on, we push onto the middle of the router bit so that the edge of our piece of timber is lined up with the edge of the centre of the router bit. So that's my centre of my router bit. So I come in right on the centre, and that's the apex of the curve, or the top edge of the curve, the radius of the router bit. So we come into the router bit on the centre, roll ourselves along till we get to the centre again, and then we pull it off backwards. That technique actually works really well, and it just takes a little bit of finesse, a little bit of care when you're doing it. So, like this. And when you do that, you end up with that nice little curve on the edge. So now, a little bit of hand sanding, just to tidy up the edge. Now it doesn't matter if you sand the box, the lid. I prefer not to, but if you do, it's not going to do any great drama. It's not going to cause any grief, because you can just keep sanding it down until it gets to so there's a little bit of work to do there to get that, but right now, because I've sanded all this to the size, I want to make the part that goes on here, the little lifter. So making the lifter I'll leave that round a bit there. Making the lifter is quite a little task. And I make lots of them. So here's some of the different versions. There's that version there. Just see if I can put that where it can be seen. You can see that the shape of them is a little different. This one's a little fatter. This one's a little shorter. So they can be made in a lot of different shapes. This one here's got a step top and bottom. This one's a tiny little one. So they're all made with the same technique. What's this one got? That's on the bottom. That's got the step on the top. And I make lots of different ones, and I just sort of store all sorts of things. And I can pick and choose any I like. There's, as you can see, there's lots of different coloured timbers, different types of timbers that you can be fiddling around with. And they're just offcuts. They're leftover bits and pieces from some of the jobs. So let's have a look at how they're made. Just keep a little box full of all those sorts of things. And I can fit them in there. Alright. Here's where the fun is. What I have, I'll make a couple of different sorts for you. I've got some 10mm offcuts from various things, a bit of silver ash, a bit of walnut, a bit of forest oak, and I think that's Honduran mahogany. So the first thing to do, I think what I might do is I might cut this in half, and then I'll work both sides of it so that I can get one on this side and one on that side of each of them, instead of playing with all different timbers. So let me go over to the drop saw. Now I'm not too concerned about being in the middle or anything like that, it's just near enough's good enough. So ears on everybody. If I do it in that. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to round over both sides of it, but I'll need a fence. The reason I need the fence is because I want the whole front edge of that supported by something, rather than me sort of trying to gauge whether I've got it right or not. So this is my round over fence. Put a piece of material up against the bearing, pull the fence up to the material, and that means I'll get a flush run straight through. No problem. Lock it in. So this is the first task. So all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to round over top and bottom. We'll then raise the route a bit up, and I'll do the other side, and I'll raise it up so we've got a little step on it. So ears on. I'm not going to put the dust extractor on here, it's just need the fence there. And so what I've done there is all I've done is I've rounded over the top edge. Okay, so a little round over. Let's raise the route a bit up a little bit. Get it out where I can see it. put a little step on it. So now I have, put the right side up, so now I have a little step, top and bottom. So I can have a little play with that. So that will give me a different shape again. Now if I did this, just going to drop that down a tiny bit. Have a single roll over there. Let's raise it up a little bit higher than I did before. Need to shift my fence a tiny bit. And now I have the curve on either the top side or the bottom side, depending on which side I'm going to work with now. So what we need to do now is cut the L shape in here. Now I could take it to a table saw and run it through the table saw a few times, but I don't have a table saw. So this is the technique that I use because I don't have a table saw. Need to be extremely careful with this. There are two different types of router bits that I can use. This one's just a 3/4 router bit, or I have my compression router bit, which is the one I used from the construction. That's a little smaller, it doesn't have such a big cut on it. So I'm going to use this because I haven't used it before. Let's give it a try and see what it does. It's all about experimenting a little bit. I would normally use that. It's an end cut, so it will allow you to cut a groove, but we'll see how it goes. There's a significant amount of difference in the width of that. Like I said, we're flying by the seat of our pants today. Now, when we cut this, let's cut this one first. We're going to do a number of passes. Now, what I want to do, I've got a pencil. What I want to do is I want to keep a fair amount of this material on the front here, and then I want to cut out that bit. So I'm going to cut this stuff in here out and keep that. Okay, so I'm just going to run a groove through there. But don't do it all at once. If you try to do it all at once, generally it turns out disastrous. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little cut to start with. Set that on my router bit where I want it to cut. Bring that over. Lock it in place. Now you have to be very, very careful here and try and keep this cutting as straight as possible. And the reason I'm using a wide piece of timber is got something to grip onto. So when you don't pay attention to what you're doing, this is a result.
Oh boy.
The reason I did that, I'm talking too much, I'm going through the processing and all that sort of thing. So what didn't I do? Didn't tighten up my router bit. And I should have stopped pretty much straight away. Somebody should have told me. Let's try again. I'm going to cut that piece off. So we do make errors every now and then. That one's a doozy.
I thought it sounded a bit rough.
It sounded very rough.
All right, take two.
Take two.
John Paris said, OMG.
Oh, yeah, oh my God. You're right. Oh my God. Okay, let's try it again.
Redemption, Cole.
See what happens when you get things right? It's easier. Okay, so I'm going to lift it a little bit. And as you see, I'm doing a little bit at a time. It's probably not my preferred choice of router bit. Like I said, I've not used this one before, so I wasn't ever sure how it was going to work. Come up a little bit more.
Ozzy reckons that first blue, the blowout, you couldn't even call that a design change.
What was that?
You couldn't even call it a design change, it was a blowout.
Yeah, it was a blowout. Yeah.
So nice.
So now I'm at a point where I've got my little step. All I need to do now is cut that piece off. So let's go over to the drop saw. when I cut this off, I turn it upside down. And there's my little piece. Now I can take as much as I like. I'll probably only do about 30 millimetres. Let's get this down here. Just going to cut the end off it first because I didn't dress the end of it before I started. The end of it. And make it 30 mil. Here's my little piece. And that gives me quite a nice little lifter that sits on. Yeah, it needs a bit more sanding before I actually glue it in place. But I'll glue that in place and then we'll go on with a couple of the other things that we're going to do today. So, just need a bit more sanding here.
Actually, it could be a bit longer.
A bit longer?
Yeah, in proportion to the box. Yeah.
What do you reckon, about 40 mil?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, let's do a 40 mil one. And so this is the beauty of actually doing
Yeah, that's better. A little bit more in proportion to that. We have to say good morning to Graham Bell. He's running late, but no note required, Graham.
Oh, hang on a sec.
No. Go easy. That's better.
Okay. So what I want to do here is get my LARK tool. I just guessed where the middle is.
Let's see how good you are, Cole.
A
a little bit off.
5 mil out. Okay.
Mark it.
Okay. I don't need to mark it, I've got a LARK tool. Just want a little bit of glue in there, not a lot, not a lot. Oop. Beautiful. Okay, now the secret is do not glue those in place until you've sanded the lid. Just make sure that you get the lid ready for a finish basically before you actually put this in on. Okay, so that just needs to sit aside and dry. And this is not what to do. Okay, let's put that aside. Let that sit there and dry for a little while. And these bits here can go into my little box at some stage. As can this bit. And let's get this out. I was going to do this anyway. Let me shift the stop. Put things away. Can be rubbish. That's all. Okay. Now, this one, this box here, we're going to work on two boxes. We're going to work on that one and work on this one as well. So this one first up, when I put the finish on, now I'm using Constantia Chinese wood oil here because it actually soaks in really nicely and it does quite a nice job. I better pull this out, otherwise I'll get it covered in oil. That wouldn't look very nice. Okay, so I've sanded that to 800 grit, so it's actually quite smooth. And I don't know if you can get it in the light, but when you do get it in the light, you can actually see it's got a sheen to it. If you can see that, you can just see it on the box. And a little bit of a sheen. Not a lot, but then again, that's the timber itself. And you can see that the walnut is actually a different colour to the sides. That's basic because it's got no finish and the other one has. So all I do here, I better get my other little board, otherwise I'll have oil all over my bench. And that will be an issue I'll have to deal with later. Do it on my board. Just clamp that down so it doesn't run away on me. So just with a brush, watch this. You can see already the change in the colour. Look how that stands out now.
That's beautiful.
That piece of timber in the middle of the box there, the thing is she oak. It's a dryland she oak, this one. Some she oaks you'll have pink she oak. There's all sorts of different colours when it comes to she oak. But you can see on this one here, you've got all these lovely little black lines which actually match up to the other parts of the box. Now what I'll do is I'll just let that sit for a little bit, not very long. And while that's sitting, so I've brushed on a fair bit. what I wanted to do is I wanted to soak it up, and the shea oak will do that, so I might put a bit more on. You can see the contrast in these. In the corner. Just make sure you get down into the end grain there.
End grain's always very thirsty.
Yeah, always thirsty. And so that, I'll sit that there for a sec. Now, one of the techniques that I often use, is when I get to the stage where I'm doing, we'll work on this one here. This one's had a number of coats of finish, and when you put a finish on, particularly when it's wet like that, you'll get what we call raising of the grain. Now, most of you woodies will know what raising of the grain is. It's the fibres soaking up the material, expanding and popping up. And we need to get rid of those to give you a nice, clean, smooth surface. So, one of the techniques to do that is to get yourself some 2000 grit sandpaper. By the way, I'm not going to sand it. Get yourself some 2000 grit sandpaper and sand it while it's wet like that. You can do that, and it'll bring it up nice and smooth. I found another way of doing it, and it involves one of these little gadgets electronically. Now, I was originally using a product that's put out by Rupees, where they had little pads like this, and they had little carpets and little bits of sponge, and I found that they're very, very expensive, and if you're on a budget, there's a way around it. I started making my own applicators. Now, these little applicators, you go along to the big green store and you can find a square of material that you would use on the bottom of your chair legs and table legs to stop it scratching the floor.
So
and that's what that is.
It's basically felt.
It's just a piece of felt, right? Very good applicator. All I did was put a piece of Velcro on the back of it so that it would stick onto here. Cut it to the right size, and there's my applicator. I found that does a brilliant job. Now,
and it doesn't scratch.
And it doesn't scratch. What it does is, because it's coarse, it will actually take off all of that raised grain and give you a really, really nice smooth surface. So I'll go and get my wax.
So is that called two birds, one stone?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So when I put my wax on, this one here is Lincoln Furniture Wax. It's a smooth paste, but because I'm using a coarse applicator, it's going to give me the results I want. So, a little piece of rag. Now, lots of this sort of stuff is experimental. If you want to play around and experiment with different finishes and different types of waxes and so forth like that, by all means do that, because you'll never get the result you want if you don't try and... You can see this stuff is quite thick. I could just leave it like that, polish it off and leave it. But because it's grey, I need to raise the grain. Just a slow speed. This box already had a number of coats of finish on it. And all I'm doing now is just giving that a really good polish, peeling off all of the raised grain. Now I don't have the time, but I normally would spend another hour just letting it sit by itself to go off, but it's not necessary. That's just my foibles when it comes to putting finishes on things. What I'm doing now is just cleaning the wax out of the groove, the visible wax. There's still a fair coating in there, which is what we want.
So Cole,
protect.
Just going back to that process when you know, you had your blowout with that cutter.
Yep.
Dave Rowland asked at the time, could you use a normal tenon cutter to do that?
Yes, you could.
Yeah. You just cut a bigger, it cuts a wider groove.
Just cuts a wider groove.
Recess, yeah.
It shouldn't make any difference. Okay, so now that I set this.
And the other question is, do you hand sand between coats of finish?
I used to do that all the time. I usually now do it as per needed. If you look at the box we just put the finish on it now, just bring the camera down onto there, Penny. You can see that the sea oak has actually soaked up all of that finish, and the silver ash is still got a whole lot sitting on it. So what I'll do now with this, I'm going to wet sand that, and then I'll put another coat of finish on it before I actually start the process of doing this. So what I want is, I want that to fill up. We want all the grain to suck up as much as it can so that it hasn't got any more. And then you can get this sort of smooth finish. So I would let that sit for a little while and just to go off, and then I would get my little buffing pad. And so what I have now is I have a perfectly smooth, clean surface. It's not overly shiny. I don't want it overly shiny because that's not the style of finish that I have. I'm not a big fan of glossy, shiny, but you can see the timber has this lovely finish to it. It's a natural finish. It looks really, really nice. And then generally that's because of the Chinese wood oil. And the Lincoln furniture wax. So that'll get a wax, another wax a little bit later. I'll do the rest of the box at the same time, and we'll it'll be a really, really nice little box when it's done. So still a little bit more finishing to do on it. When that's done, I'll then finish the screws and start putting bits and pieces on the inside of it. Now, it's already got its stuff. One of the things that I haven't done with any of these boxes is I haven't done any of the internal bits to the boxes. If you want me to show you how to do some of those internal bits and pieces, or you have a particular design that you'd like to have a little play with, flick me a message after the show and let me know what you'd like, and I'll try and sort of fit it in after my next box. I've got one more box to do in this series, and it's a special little box. And then if I get a number of requests about what to do on the inside of the boxes, by all means I'll follow up and go on with that after the series is done. So basically the series is all about doing different things with our H10 with our mini jig, and this is the results of one of those. Now, somebody asked about sanding between finishes. I thought I'd better follow up with a method I use for that. This one here, as you can see, is still wet, except for the centre. So let's put another coat on here. The shear oak has soaked that up. Some timbers actually do soak it up really, really well. Some don't. Okay, so normally I would just do that. I work with the grain. Now I'm using a little piece of 1200 here. This will help it. Make sure it's wet when you do it. Don't let it go dry. Work with the grain where you can. Sometimes the slurry that you create will be the same colour as your timber, and any little faults that have shown up in the timber will actually get hidden by the slurry that you've created. Okay. Let's just wipe that off. And you can see, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but you can see the silver ash has actually held its colour and held a bit of a sheen, whereas this shear has gone really flat. And that's from the sanding. So let's put another coat of finish on it. We'll soak it up, and then we'll start adding waxes once we've got that done. Doing the sanding actually will help it to take up as much as it can. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get that look. I don't know if you can see that in there. You see that's really, really nice in there. It hasn't got a wax on it, but it's got a nice finish on it. There's a bit I haven't filled the finish on. Edge. Good. I'm not too concerned about getting wax anywhere else, any finish anywhere else, because it'll soak up. It's not one of those finishes that will go hard and carry on. It's an oil, and it'll look quite nice when it's done. So that's probably it for today. Like I said, I haven't finished this one. This one needs a little bit more sanding. I've got to sand the edges of those a bit more, and we put a coat of finish on that. But I'll take a couple of photos of it and stick it on Instagram once I've got it finished. But now that that's in place, it's just a matter of finishing up the sanding and putting coats of finish on it. So the whole box needs a coat of finish, whereas this one does as well. So as you can see, lots of different things for the boxes. So I'm going to call it quits there today. I know it's a tiny bit short, but like I said, it's one of those things, or one of those times when the box has lots of odd little things that you can't sort of plan. You saw what happens when you don't do things right. So, and luckily nobody got hurt, so it's all good. But like I said, if there's something on the inside of the box you want done, or want me to show you how I've done in the past, you could probably go back over my videos and have a look at some different finishes. Pam's got a question.
No, Jake is asking, does the Chinese wood oil have an odour?
It's not an unpleasant odour, Jake. It's
actually quite mild.
It's really mild. It smells like a normal finish. It does inhibit the smell of the timber. So if you're using something like camphor or a hue and pine that have particular odours, it will cover up those odours of the timbers. So just be aware of that. If you're using it on a camphor chest, generally you don't have a finish on the inside of a camphor chest anyway, because that's the reason you're using camphor laurel. But on the outside, it would just make it smell like something you would buy. If you went along to a wood shop, not a wood shop, a woodcraft shop where they sell wooden artifacts or wooden pieces or wooden art, and had a smell around those, you'll find that there are lots of different types of smells, because some of these finishes do have pretty strong odours. Some smell like mint, some smell like eucalypt, some smell like whatever's in them. I have a crate full of different waxes that I use for various timbers that I've got. I've actually got a hue and pine wax that I use for hue and pine only, just to keep the smell of hue and pine. So yeah, depending on what you want to do with it, you know. But
that particular wood oil is quite a mild.
Yeah, this one here.
It's certainly not an unpleasant smell or strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's about it for today. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you learned something out of it. I know I did. Do up the router bits. And we'll catch you all next week. But don't forget, message after the show sometime, what's on the inside. And of course, if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. I don't always make the blunders, but every now and then.
Yeah, I think they like it when you do.
It's woodwork. It's how things work. So have a good week, everybody, and I'll see you all next week.